Good evening, viewers. My name is Krishna Vemuri. You are watching Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on New Jersey Congressional District 11. The population of this district is 124,000. Male population is 48.1% and female population is 51.9%. This congressional district has 84% whites, 3.6% blacks, 9.2% Asians, and 8.8% Hispanics. And it historically has a very low unemployment, and then high school graduates are 94%, whereas college graduates are almost half of the total population. It has been represented for the last more than 20 years by Republican candidate until 2018, where in 2018, Democrats surprisingly won this congressional district. Today, we are going to speak to Republican candidate for congressional district, and she is Rosemary Becchi. And she is a leading tax policy lawyer and a consultant who works as a strategic advisor and counsel. Rosemary began her career in public sector at the IRS as an attorney and advisor before moving on to the staff of US Senate Finance Committee as a tax counsel. It was during her time on the Finance Committee that Rosemary co-authored 529 college savings plans, and which is being used by many parents. She has also held in-house executive positions, including Vice President of Federal Government Relations for many companies. As a candidate for Congress, Rosemary brings valuable first-hand experience in both public policy and law. She has spent her career working in front of lines of policy and regulatory matters, developing collaborative relationship with key leaders in both chambers of Congress, the Treasury Department, the Securities Exchange Commission, the Federal Reserve Board, and other federal and state agencies, as well as industry and trade associations. Rosemary also has been a political advocate of both national and local level. She authored multiple commentary pieces on tax and financial services. She served as leader in the role of tax coalition, including savings as a child. While Rosemary has achieved highly successful professional career, her family always has been her priority. Rosemary often is found at daughters' hockey games, driving her to dance, or preparing for her family weekly Sunday dinners. And welcome, Rosemary. Good evening, Rosemary. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening.
Welcome to our show. And then I have introduced about your district. And can you tell us why you have been contesting for this District 11?
Well, great. Yes. And just to give you a little bit about myself, I'm a wife, a mother of three teenage daughters, and I'm also a tax lawyer. And I've been fighting my entire career for lower taxes and less regulation. And I'm running for this district because I truly believe that we need somebody in Washington fighting for New Jersey families. And I believe that we truly need somebody there that's going to put the people of this district over the politics. I don't think that that's what the people of this district have in their current representative. The current representative is Mikey Sherrill, and she votes with the leadership all the time, straight through party line. And I don't think that's what's best for the people of this district. I think people of this district need somebody there that's voting on their behalf.
Okay. How, as an elected member, you can make changes to the taxation of New Jersey? Because see, I read in your, just a second, I was a member of New Jersey first, I think. I read about when you initiated that, I think I got a flyer which says that a lot of companies are moving away from New Jersey, which means the jobs are being lost. So how you are going to address that issue, Rosemary?
Yes, and you're absolutely right. I had founded an organization here in New Jersey called Jersey First. And what Jersey First did was advocate for lower taxes and less regulation here in New Jersey. But that's something I also want to advocate for in Washington at the national level to help our New Jersey businesses, because I do believe that with lower taxes and less spending, that our economy here in New Jersey will grow. And when our economy grows, we'll have more jobs. So I will give you some, for instances, some examples of things that we can be doing here, you know, particularly in light of this pandemic. And if people visit my website at beckyforcongress.com, you can see I put together a very large tax plan. But some of the ideas that are in there is that providing people with tax credits for refiguring their businesses. As we all know, as part of this pandemic, businesses have had to readjust, restaurants have had to reconfigure, and people have spent a lot of money doing so. And so one of the things that I would do is advocate for a tax credit for the costs that people have incurred for that.
Okay, thank you. About the law and order and safety and security, the Democrats have been obsessed about the anarchists and left-wing people, whereas there is a lot of rioting and looting is taking place across the country. And how you are going to advocate for safety and security of the people if elected, Rosemary?
Yes. Now, first and foremost, I am not for defunding the police, and my opponent is for defunding the police, and my opponent voted for a bill that would allow a criminal to sue a police officer. And that's not something that I would advocate for. I think we need to do more to support our police in this particular time. I think it is absolutely crucial that we get behind the police so that they can stop the looting and the other things that are happening throughout this country. And as a mom, I would tell you, it is something that is very, very important to me. I obviously, like you, want to keep your family safe. I think it's something that is important to all of us here in the district.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to know that I'm using now one of your plan, which is the college plan, 529 college plan. I'm very happy to know that you are co-authored the plan. So what are the different public policies which may be interest to middle class and then lower middle class people that you think that you can help in politicizing during your term?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear that you're using your 529 to save for college. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. You know, I graduated from college and law school with over $100,000 in debt. And I certainly don't want that for future generations. And I think the 529 college savings plan is a wonderful way for families to save for not only college, but also apprenticeships and other educational needs. And it is something that I worked on for a very long time, not only when I worked on Capitol Hill, but even after I left Capitol Hill. I worked across the aisle with many people to make those accounts what they are today. And as you pointed out, millions of families save for college on a tax-free basis. But those are the kind of ideas and things that I want to continue to pursue for middle class families. I think it's very important. And I think right now, a perfect example of that is I actually put out there as part of my economic plan is that we ought to be allowing people to expand the use of their 529s for any homeschooling that is being done right now, or for the additional costs that people are incurring because they've had to have their kids online at home as a result of the pandemic. So in a lot of instances, parents are incurring additional costs to get help from tutors or incurring costs to set their children up on computers and things of that nature. And so I certainly think that the 529 college savings plans could be expanded to help middle-class families meet some of those needs right at this moment.
Hey bro, go for what you know. Bass getting low when we rock the show. Hey bro, go for what you know. Bass getting low when we rock the show.
That is very nice. That's very nice to know about your ideas. That I think definitely is going to help a lot of families. Okay, let us switch our attention to taxation. Democrats, especially Bernie Sanders, every other week he keeps on tweeting that, okay, rich is becoming rich and poor is becoming poor with respect to the stock market rise. Okay, stock market rise, nobody can do anything. It is there, it is there. You being a tax expert, maybe a lot of people think the tax experts are going to help the rich, not the poor. How you are going to make the difference towards this argument, Rosemary?
So I certainly help everybody, and it's a big part of who I am and what I've done. And certainly I will tell you, as part of this campaign and throughout this pandemic, that it's something that's been very important to me. You know, I've helped more people get their PPP loans and their EIDL loans and help them understand some of the legislation and the things that have been put in place throughout this pandemic. And I certainly think and believe that we need to provide more assistance to people as well, so that they can get through this difficult time. You know, I think my opponent belongs in Washington rather than on the campaign trail right at the moment, and working on a package to continue to help families pay for their child care, to help them with unemployment and other needs, continue the PPP program to help small businesses. She ought to be in Washington working for families and not out on the campaign trail. But it is, and you pointed out so well that you know, when we get beyond this election, we've got a lot to pay attention to in terms of getting the economy going again. And it's about getting our small businesses going, but also helping our larger businesses as well. We've got to make sure that our businesses have the liquidity and what they need in order to continue to keep employees and also grow. So one of the things that I actually feel, you know, we ought to be taking a look at is a payroll tax holiday, and looking at things like that so that we can help employers, you know, continue to keep their employees and grow. That's certainly some of the things that I think are very important. What I very much worry about is that, you know, folks like Joe Biden and my opponent, Mikey Sherrill, are all talking about tax increases. And one of the things they're actually talking about is increasing and changing the way people's savings, their 401ks, are taxed. And that hurts you and I. And that's not what we want. And nowadays, the stock market is made up of a lot of people like you and I who have our 401ks and our retirement savings and our 529s, our education savings. We're big participants in the stock market. And we, you know, and it's through programs like the 529 and the 401k where we've allowed people to become active, right, with small dollars in and helping them grow them. And we have to protect that. And one of the things, like in Joe Biden's plan, is that he would no longer allow people to put into their 401k on a pre-tax basis. And I think that's wrong. I think we should continue to enable people to save in their 401k on a tax-free, on a pre-tax basis.
Okay, thank you. How many of the policies of Trump you agree with, or how many of them you disagree with?
You mean from a tax perspective?
Not necessarily tax, or like maybe healthcare, or it could be security or border security wall, any policy. Do you agree with all the policies, or you differ with some of them?
I think one of the biggest policies that I disagree with, and an area that I think that there's a lot of room for improvement, is through our budget process. I worry very deeply about the amount of debt we're leaving our children. And it's something I've always cared very deeply about. I mean, even prior to the pandemic, I've written lots of op-eds criticizing both sides for not having more fiscal responsibility. I think we need to look hard at the money we're spending and eliminate the fraud and the abuse and the duplication, and do a better job at prioritizing our spending. Because again, and particularly now that we've come through this pandemic, you know, we're leaving our children a lot of debt, and it worries me, because what it will mean for their future is high taxes, and having the inability, you know, to have more money to grow, to to prosper, to create their own businesses and things like that. I worry that they'll be chained to high taxes.
Okay. About COVID, the Democrats almost been running on their mascot as mask. Okay, you see, Biden always wears mask even if there is nobody in front of him and 10 feet away or 15 feet away. Okay, so how do you think, what do you think about whether our president has handled the COVID fine or not fine, as Democrats claim?
Look, I think there has been failure at multiple levels. I really do. And I think that, you know, we have to do a better job. And we also have to hold China accountable for what's happened here. I think that they have hidden so much from us about this virus that it's been very difficult for all of us to respond to it. And as I said, I do think that there's been failure at all levels. And so I think that what we need to do now is to move quickly to quickly and safely open our businesses, you know, and base that on the data and metrics. You know, and I don't feel that that's something here in New Jersey that we've done very well. I think that it's been you know, there's been no real metrics in place for deciding when we're going to reopen and when we're not going to reopen. And so, you know, and I also think that, you know, my opponent has been part of that failure. You know, and hasn't been out there for the people of this district throughout the coronavirus.
I really appreciate your frankness in telling some mistake that are owned by Republicans. I'm trying to contrast this with the DNC. During DNC of 4 days, none of the people have spoken about or mentioned at least there is violence in the country. Everything they say is peaceful protesters. Yesterday or day before, the former First Lady, she told a lot about peaceful protesters, but she, for the sake of mentioning that, she did not admit that there is violence. Okay, while the politics are like this, I very well appreciate your statements that, okay, there are some mistakes which are to be rectified. And Yes.
And I appreciate your question a lot. Look, there is clearly not peaceful protests going on. While there are some, there is a lot of violence going on in this country. And I think that it is imperative that we address it. And I think we have to address it from multiple sides. Look, does racism exist in this country? Absolutely. And do we have to fix it and do better? Absolutely. And I will tell you, I have lived it because I ran a program for many years, and I worked with inner city kids in helping them, get ahead. And what we did in the program I ran is it was a community service-based program where we got underprivileged kids and disadvantaged youth involved in community service so that they felt part of the community and part of what was happening. We provided not only after-school tutoring, internships, mentoring programs, but we, again, did it all based on community service. And we really made change in the lives of people. And I'm proud to say many of these kids have gone on to colleges and families and careers in life. And I'm very, very proud of them all. But you've got to make change and you have to find a solution. It's something I tell my children all the time. You can't just, rant and rave that something isn't going your way. You have to make change and you have to do something about it. And so I say, with respect to the racism and what's happening in this country, we've got to do something. But I also think we have to stop the violence, and we have to support our police, and we have to let our police do their jobs to stop the violence, because innocent people are getting harmed. In every city, we continue to hear how innocent people are being harmed by this violence, and we've got to put an end to it.
Okay. My next question comes from my personal experience. When I was kid and I was in India, around adolescent to teen, we were obsessed to go to America, and we were told America is hardworking. American people appreciate the hard work put by other people. And then a lot of things, it's highly disciplined and everybody respects the work. That's what I heard. That's why I came to this country. And surprisingly, ever since President Trump elected, I think Democrats on a rampage to spoil that kind of image. Okay, will this election change that perspective of what Democrats are creating outside the world about America or not?
So I think you touched on the most critical issue in this election. I think that in this country, we are staring down a decision that you can either go down the path of socialism or you can go down the path of freedom and capitalism. And I certainly choose in my life, and I choose for the people of this district, freedom. It's something that I worry about every day. I've lived the American dream just like you've lived the American dream. My parents never went to college. They never had very much, but I was able to. And now I'm able to save for my children's college. And I went on to law school, and I've had a wonderful career. And frankly, part of, running for this office is giving it back. And really being able to pay it forward and help others. And that's what we're about in this country. We're about, helping one another and working hard. And there is great joy in working hard. I certainly have found it in my own life, and I look around me and I see it all the time. And I think that what the Democrats want is that's not what they want. They just, they're looking at a scenario where everything's free, and nobody works hard, and nobody achieves anything. And that's not what we are about in this country.
Okay, we were told, like, in our history of our country when we migrated here. Sorry for bringing back my country here. One of our founding father of our constitution, he told that he doesn't want to add a word called socialism because socialism kills democracy. Okay, here people are obsessed about socialism. Are they really obsessed about the socialism, or the democratic leadership is taken away by or dominated by the socialistic people, hardly 5 to 10 of them? What do you say about how Democratic Party is moving?
I think the Democratic Party has completely moved towards socialism. And I don't think that the Democratic Party of today is the Democratic Party of, yesteryears, of my father's generation. I really don't. I think they have moved in a completely different direction.
Okay. About the immigration and illegal immigration, we would like to have your opinion about those things.
Look, I believe so strongly in immigration and legal immigration. And I think we have a lot of work to do in this country to improve our immigration system. And again, really put our weight and support behind the legal process. My grandfather did it, and others' ancestors have done it. Again, it's about being an American and being very proud of that process. And so we need to fix our immigration system in this country. We really do. And we cannot, reward illegal immigration. It's not fair. It's fundamentally just not fair to those who have done it the right way and have done everything legally. Okay. I think it's as simple as that.
Okay, fine. What is the biggest disappointment that the people in your district have regarding your opponent?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Biggest disappointment that the people of your constituency have regarding the current incumbent representative?
So I think that the people of this, I think the people of the district have been lied to by my opponent. I think she promised them she was going to go to Washington and be a different kind of Democrat and an individual voice. And she has not done that. She has voted lockstep with the Democratic Party 99% of the time. She has voted with the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She has also voted with the members of the Democratic Party known as the Squad 94% of the time. I don't think that she has been an individual voice for the people of this district. And I also don't think that she's done a good job of solving the problems and the issues that the people of this district had sent her to do. She was one of the 7 Democrats that wrote a letter in the Washington Post that pushed the impeachment process. And that's not what the people of this district wanted. They wanted somebody there that was looking out for them and focused on what was happening here in the district. Because while she was doing that, we were having people that were getting sick by COVID. And she should have been focused on what was happening here in the district rather than the impeachment process. I think she has put the politics over the people of this district. And I don't think that's what they want.
Okay. Your district historically been the Republican district, except for the 2018 election. Why it happened so? And then can you make again the Republican district for the years to come?
Yeah, again, I think that what happened in 2018 is that my opponent said she was going to be something different and promised to be a moderate. And I just don't think that that's what she is. I think that she has proven, because she has voted lockstep with the Democratic Party, that she's not an independent voice or that she's a moderate. And I think that my values and the issues, the positions that I have on the issues that are important to the people of this district are more reflective of the district. I truly believe that the people of this district want to see, policies in place that, will help kickstart our economy and help produce jobs, right? And keep our taxes low. I think the people of this district want to see us support our police and fund them. And I think, that they really want somebody that's going to be an advocate for their values.
Okay. What are your opinion about the current international policy being practiced versus the previous policies, Rosemary?
So I think generally, I think, and obviously there's variations on different issues, but, I do think that, kind of the current policies have been good for the country. I certainly, would like to see instances where we are, working more with our allies. But I will say that I do think that we've been pretty supportive. I think that in terms of, for instance, like with China, I think we absolutely have to hold them accountable for what's happened here in the country. So I certainly agree with the policies there. I do think that, that we need to be very hard on them and hold them accountable. I would say, I'd point out, the other policy that I do wholeheartedly agree with is the policies and the support that we've given for Israel. And, I think that those, have been very good policies, moving the embassy, pulling out of the Iran deal. I think were very good steps for this country.
Thank you very much. And then final remarks to our viewers and then your voters.
But my final remarks are that, I certainly, I want to earn your viewers' vote. I strongly encourage them to go to my website, which is Becchi, BECCHI, for Congress.com. But I want to encourage you that, I think that, voting for me is voting for somebody that's truly going to, be able to go to Washington and fight for the people of this district, and that I will truly put the people before the politics. I think there are very important issues facing us right now, getting this economy going, and certainly, supporting our police and keeping us safe and secure. And then the final issue, which we hadn't talked about, that I also think is very, very important, is fighting for those amongst us that are the most vulnerable. And that is the disabled. And it's something that I'm very, very passionate about, and have put out there a Bill of Rights for the disabled. And I think that this is something that, a lot of us in the district have people around us that are disabled, or have come in contact with people that's disabled. And I certainly think that it's very important that we help and support those folks. So again, I hope to earn your vote. And I want to remind everybody to vote. So when your ballot comes in the mail, make sure you fill it out and take it to a drop box.
Okay. Nice. Thank you so much, Rosemary. And then we wish you all the best. And then this is one of the few interviews where the person came out very frankly. And then I really wish you all the luck. Okay. I definitely want to have your first interview after being the Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Thank you and all the best. Thank you, viewers. This is today's spotlight on Rosemary, the Republican contender from Congressional District 11 from New Jersey. We'll see you with another episode soon.